Welcome to Make It, Share It, the podcast where we explore the simple but profound process to overcome fear, doubt, perfectionism, and more enemies of creativity. Make it and share it.
We'll talk to creators of all kinds, from artists and writers to entrepreneurs and inventors, to learn about their creative process, the challenges they faced, and how they overcame them by making and sharing.
Whether you're an artist, entrepreneur, or someone who wants to create but feels stuck, this podcast is for you. Creativity, meet courage.
All right, welcome back to Make It, Share It, where creativity meets courage. Always excited to join and talk about making and sharing the work that's on our hearts, and joined by Lauren Chandler and Stephen Cooper as always, guys. And then Grady Spencer is our special guest today. We're going to talk a lot about his story and music and all that he's up to, but I want to turn it over to Coop just to give a little bit of an intro. You guys know each other, and want to kind of give you space to intro Grady, and then we'll go into there with our normal stuff.
Awesome. Okay, so I met Grady through a mutual friend that we all have. His drummer is a young man by the name of Jesse Fox, who he played drums and I played bass. Like 15 years ago, we played a lot of small churches in East Texas together. So that's been, I love Jesse. So I'd love to talk later about collaborators and the strengths. Like, he's not just a drummer. That guy's like a business-minded, detail-oriented, great weapon to have in your band. And he's also an awesome drummer. But anyway, in today's music world, like, without getting on my soapbox, which I've done so many times, it's really hard to make music and make a living at it these days. And it's also dictating how the music is made. So the art is, Spotify only pays you if they listen to 30 seconds of your song. So people are skipping intros, shortening a verse, getting to the chorus faster, releasing singles. It's changing how art is made and shared. So in the midst of all that, people aren't playing guitar anymore. They can do it all on electronic instruments because it's cheap. You don't need microphones to record. They're self-producing. You can't afford a producer, and you can't afford to give him a percentage of the ownership of something that already is fractions of a penny. People are solo artists because, again, there's not enough money to divide up amongst 4 or 5 people. In this crazy world, Grady Spencer in the work is in the middle of writing, recording, touring, sharing music, navigating all those hurdles as a real band that plays real instruments. And the goal is, how do we do this and make it worth our money being away from our families to go make and share music? So to me, you are right in the middle of it. New music's coming out right now. You're touring now. You're going to tour a ton in 2024. I just think it's fascinating because you're still playing guitars. You still got a band. You're still making music on your own, but you are having to navigate social media and streaming revenue. And so it's fascinating. So to me, I was like, we got to talk to Grady about what this is like, because I know some of it's good and some of it's horrible. So I'm really happy to have Grady Spencer here to talk with us.
Yeah, man. Thank you. What a great intro, man. Thank you so much, dude. Yes.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I am real. I do play real guitars. You're right.
That's right.
Yeah. So thank y'all for having me, man. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. Thanks for your time, Grady. And we like to start out with just kind of a fun question to get to know you a little bit. So my question for you today is, if you could only watch one movie for the rest of your life, what movie would you pick?
Oh, man. Dude, that is a great question. I've got 2 young kids, so it feels like we watch the same movie over and over, and I'm trying to think which one it actually is. We watch a lot of Sing and Sing 2. So that's some good music. I could watch that. Adult, yeah, like not kid movies, not adult movies. That's weird.
Different genre.
Yeah. There was a movie I saw a long time ago, and I bet Steven has watched it. It's a movie called Empire Records, and it's about this like small record store and like a crazy day that they had, and going back.
Rex Manning Day.
Yeah, it's Rex Manning Day. So like I went back and watched it. It doesn't truly hold up as much as I thought it did, but in my mind it's like that's top tier. But I'm not really a big movie guy, so I don't know the artsy fartsy stuff, but yeah. definitely Empire Records.
So my favorite line from Empire Records that I say all the time is Lucas, the one who lost all the money.
Yeah.
Why is today?
Yeah. So
He's always
good.
said, and they just everything he says makes everybody mad at him. But I always
Yeah.
love that line. He could flip anything as like philosophical guy. And why is today is
Yeah.
one of my favorites.
It's
I
a
love
fantastic
Empire
movie.
Records.
Yeah, a lot of good quotes in there. So yeah, I love
Awesome.
that one. Yeah.
Very nice.
More lucky you were
What?
thinking something. Oh, I just couldn't tell.
All I
with your...
can think of was Liv Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
And she's
Yeah,
in it, right?
She's in there. Yep, she's
and
in
that's
there.
all I
Renee
can
Zellweger?
remember. Huh?
Renee
Renee
Zellweger's in it?
Zellweger's
Yeah.
in it?
Yes.
Yeah, she's the
No.
other best friend. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a
I
lot
mean, I
of
haven't
star
seen
power.
that. Probably.
It is.
Probably
It's
in the
good.
90s when I saw it.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
it was a long time
definitely
ago.
I worked in a bookstore / music store for a while after college, and it
Was it Hastings?
Borders.
Borders.
Even
Okay. We
weirder.
only had a Hastings.
They
Okay, sorry.
encouraged you to have blue hair, wear whatever you wanted. And so it had a little bit of that Empire Records vibe, but it's definitely the most romantic version of it. Like if I took my 3 years at Borders, I might have had 10 minutes that felt like Empire Records, where Empire Records, you watch it and be like, oh man, I just want to work in a music store or own a music store. It's not that, but it's what's funny is I just ran into a guy that I worked with 20 years ago at Borders at a hamburger place, and he walked by and I was like, Keith B, which is what was on his name tag. So I literally said like Keith B, and his head whipped around and was like,
No.
and of course he didn't recognize me. I looked completely different, but we caught up and it was like, man, we worked at Borders 78 back in 2002.
Oh my God.
And it was a good time. Harry Potter books were coming out. I mean,
What did
it
you
was-
look like in 2002, Cooper?
I had glasses, which is really
Really?
weird. I got LASIK in like 2005, short
Okay.
hair. And we were joking. I was probably wearing cargo pants because it was 2002.
They're coming back.
They're coming
Did you
back.
know that? I have a pair.
Like a Puma
Pink.
track jacket. I think just
Oh,
my
yeah.
vibe, was not anything good at all. But it was funny. He was the long-haired. He had an English degree and knew everything about books. I was in the back of the store, like the music guy. If you needed to figure out what band that was before Shazam, I was like, sing it to
Yes.
me. I got
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Sing me a part. Hum it. I got you. And then I wouldn't even say what the band was. That was just my cocky move. They'd start humming it, and I'd just start walking towards it.
Oh, my God.
That's how cool I was.
You were.
At 23. It's like, that's Nirvana. Yeah. So it's awesome.
That's awesome.
So yeah.
Good stuff.
I need to go
I
watch
like that.
Empire Records now, man. I'm
There you
in.
go.
You got me. Next time I'm stuck in here in the rain, I'm watching that movie.
It's
I'll put the
classic.
trailer in the post. Great.
Yeah.
All right, Grady. So next thing is we like to do a turning point. It's a love story on the show, and turning point is something that happened that just changed the way you think, live, or relate in the world. Most people choose to just take something when they were younger, that led them down the path of making and sharing things. But you go wherever you want to with it. So what's a turning point for you that led you to the work you're doing these days?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna try to do it without tearing up, but yeah, I mean, meeting my wife was really big. I was living in Lubbock, Texas, and we met through kind of a mutual friend. She went to physical therapy school with a good friend of mine, and so I met her, and I'll try and condense this as much as possible. But I'd been living a lot of life, and had kind of wandered away from the church for most of from when I was a young child till I pretty much met my wife. And she was going to a church called Redeemer in Lubbock, and there was this pretty girl who I was just following around, and so kind of got back into church, and that was a big moment, and ended up getting married. And I think that from that point on, I was kind of playing music at the time, but we've been married 13 years now. And, as our marriage and, my walk with Christ has grown, like it's really changed my perspective on, music and how I create, but also now that music is my job, like how I view the money side of things and how, what I create and how I interact with the world is unfortunately tied with money, but it's also this freeing thing and understanding and acknowledging that I have gifts that have been given. And it's put me in places where I've got to meet people and hear stories and, love on people. And so, that going back to church, relearning and hearing about the gospel in a way that I never heard before, it really gave me a new understanding on the world. And it kind of opened me up to want to create, and make things and share things and just give something to the world and hopefully connect with people and, make something that would point at something much bigger than me or the world or anything like that. And so, yeah, that's the main part of it. So
That.
It's awesome. Good old Lubbock, Texas.
yeah.
So when were you in Lubbock?
I was there. So I grew up in a little town called Paducah, Texas, which is always funny to tell people, but it's like 2 hours east of Lubbock.
Okay.
Lived there my whole life. It was like south of Childress.
Yeah.
So like out in the middle of nowhere, and then ended up going to Tech. I graduated 2003. I was at Tech, and then I kind of bounced around. I was like a carpenter for a little bit, so I lived all over, and then moved back there and was playing music there in Lubbock. My wife and I met in 2010 in Lubbock. So yeah, from 2003 to 2012, I was kind of bouncing all around Lubbock. So yeah, very beautiful.
Awesome.
Oh, it's so gorgeous.
Yeah, very beautiful, picturesque place.
Yeah.
Magical.
So hilly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Just winding
so much
roads.
water, just a lot
Green.
of coast. Yeah,
Just
a lot of
water.
coast, just like sailboats. Really beautiful.
It's real inspirational.
Yeah, it is. It really
I will
is.
say, growing up in East Texas, I did not notice sunsets growing up. But then we moved to Abilene, and I was like, the sky is amazing, like these sunsets. So I will say, West Texas gave me the gift of noticing the sky.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
the sunsets are incredible. I do have to give it that. Yeah, they're really beautiful. Yeah.
Let me tell you right now, as someone who's had some time in the oil and gas business, if you're using Childress as your next closest big city, that tells me everything I need to know about your hometown, my man.
Dude, that was the big city. Like on Sundays, we would go eat at the Chinese buffet there, get some nice Chinese food, and go to Walmart. Yeah,
not a good call.
Dude, it was delicious. I mean, honestly, awesome. Like I don't want to go back now with the Fort Worth palate that I have, but at the time, I was like, this is high dining. I was loving it.
Man.
You go hit Walmart. That's a good Sunday right there.
We were based out of Dumas, Texas for a while. And so I was in Dumas, and I remember one time a guy took me to lunch, and we went to a Chinese place. And the whole time I'm there, I'm just like, oh, I got to be real careful navigating what I'm about to eat, because I don't really want, I don't know about the Dumas emergency room situation.
Yeah,
then
you can turn vegan real fast.
Well, I got even more scared because on the menu at the Chinese food restaurant had chicken quesadillas.
And I was
like, I don't know if that's the safe route to go or the most dangerous route to go. I was like, which one do you really specialize in here? And I did. I got chicken quesadillas at the King Chinese buffet in Dumas, Texas.
How were they? Were they fire?
It was where we were joking about the kind of cheese. We were like, what cheese is it cheese? Like we thought there were quotes around cheese because we were like, it's not Velveeta, but it's in the family.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which I'm not above a fake cheese, but I still, after seeing everyone else's Chinese food, I think I chose the right decision.
There you go.
That's awesome.
Well, although that was stimulating, I know a lot of people aren't as interested in our thoughts on cheese. So, Grady, what we like to do from here is just kind of do a little bit about making something recent, and then what the process of sharing has been like. And obviously, Coop was alluding to both of those with where we are in 2024. So I see that you guys have a new single out called New Dress. So we might take it through something like that. Just the process of making and sharing that I'm sure what would happen is we'd be hitting the past and other albums and things like that, if that sounds good to you.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, kind of like Coop said, I mean, I don't want to get in the doldrums of the music business in 2024 and the financial side of things, but the fact is, for me and the guys in my band, we've made a decision about 6 months ago that we were just going to try and do almost everything ourselves, and keep everything in house. In the past, for old albums, usually what I would do is, I would just write a studio a check. So it was still all paid for out of my pocket. But we would go into someone else's studio, and there would be another engineer there, and sometimes a person who would kind of be producing with us. So there was somebody else in the room, and we've had some weird management issues and some weird things happen on the business side that we just decided, hey, let's just see if we're all smart enough and we've been doing this long enough that we think we have the talents that we can do this all completely ourselves. And so yeah, for the past 6 months or so, we've been going into a studio. We just booked the room, and it's just the four of us in the room, and it's been really incredible. All four of us are believers, and so we're all kind of like working as the same, with the same big picture, of what we're doing on this earth. But it's also really fun because these three guys are super talented, and the driving force is our guitar player, Tyler Martin. He's really done a lot of educating himself on how to engineer and how to actually drive the computer and as we're recording. And so yeah, we put out a song a couple months ago called Time Zones. That was the first one that was 100% in-house, except for mastering. We haven't gotten to mastering yet. That's kind of a whole other beast that we don't have the skills for. But that one went really well, and people seemed to enjoy it, and nobody was commenting, hey, why does this sound like a bunch of guys who don't know what they're doing put it out? Everybody was like, yeah, this sounds like a pro recording. And I think Coop, even I think he heard unreleased versions. I think Jesse sent them over, and if Coop's like, yeah, this sounds great, then we're like, okay, well, this is good enough to put out. And so it's been really fun and freeing because, when it's just the four of you in there, there's no weird energy of oh, is this person digging this? Does this person hate us? Does he want us to die? You just never know, as you're creating and in the studio, everybody's brains are going to weird places. And when it's just the four of us, we're really open, and we're able to say, I don't know if that's really the spot, and then we can try something else. And it's been really fun. And yeah, this New Dress song was one that I've had written for a year. And it was a song about basically, as my wife, she likes to buy clothes on the internet, and sometimes. And the good news is that she looks fantastic in all of them. And so, I think it's in here somewhere. But there's this one dress that I was just it melted my face. And I was writing and just started talking about this new dress. And so we've been playing it live for a year. And so people have been hearing it at shows, but we didn't have it recorded, and people have been getting agitated about that and when you're gonna put it out. And so we finally got it recorded, and it's out in the world, and we're loving it. So yeah, I kind of rambled there, but that's the main part, is that we're doing everything ourselves, and it really is opening up possibilities as to what recording and putting out music can do, because it's really fun, and then two, it's super fast and efficient. Because I think we went in to record on a Tuesday, and then we were into the mixing stage by Saturday, 4 days later. So it was usually when you're dealing with somebody outside of your world, you're emailing back and forth, you're dealing with their schedules, oh, I'll get to it next whenever, and it's so for us, it's going really great, and it's really exciting. And I don't know that we're going to do it forever. Sometime if an opportunity presents where we can work with somebody else again, then we probably would. But for now, it's really freeing to just go in the studio and have fun and put it out and see what happens. So
I think that's the interesting part about where a lot of musicians are right now, because getting the right producer or a good producer can be so good, and they can amplify, it's like a director to a screenwriter. They can see the vision and then make it better and make it come alive. Some producers are good because they know when to get out of the way and go, man, I'm just trying to capture what this band already is and already does. Those are the two great versions that can take good songs and a good band and make them better. Unfortunately, there's also like 100 horror stories where you're fighting against a guy trying to put his stamp on something, or who doesn't really understand the band, or he stays in this lane and the band's a little bit over here. And so he's always just trying to bring the band to his lane, and no one's really happy with the product. So to me, if you can do it on your own, at least you're going to take out like 80 of those bad experiences, I think. You're increasing your chances to being happy with the music. And then like you said, you guys are some seasoned, accomplished musicians, but it makes everybody step up their game. It makes guys start to watch YouTube tutorials and go down Reddit rabbit holes on how to use gear and tricks and tips. And then it makes you pull in collaborators and friends. Like, I love getting those texts from Jesse because I love to A/B things. My favorite thing is let's A/B everything and the best sound wins. Don't tell me how much money the two keyboards are. Play them both back to back and let's pick the best one. Same with microphones and everything else. So with Jesse, he sent me an unreleased recording. So the first thing I do is go, okay, I'm going to put in the last like old 97s track that they just paid big money for, produced, mixed, and mastered. I'm going to turn it onto my studio speakers at this volume, and I'm going to play it, and I'm going to listen to the whole thing. And then as soon as it's over, I play Jesse's. And right then, if you go back to back, you're like, oh, their drums don't sound right. Or, oh, their vocals are a little bit way too much reverb. So then you can ask questions like, do you want it that reverbed? Is that a goal? Or were you trying to fix the vocals and you don't know where, you know what I mean? And you have a real conversation and go, dude, that felt the same. The volumes felt good. The energy was there. The guitars were in the mix right. No one's going to know y'all did this on your own or had to figure this out as you went. It just felt like a studio release, which is what you're going for. So I also think that gives you confidence to be like, hey, at a certain level, we can do this quite a bit. And then if you ever find a producer in the wild that you're like, this dude gets it. This dude gets our stuff. And if we could get him in the studio, it would be worth paying for that, or him owning a small points on the back end or something, because he's going to take our music to another level.
Yeah.
Instead of being desperate to like, I have to have a producer and engineer because I don't know how to work this junk.
For sure.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, like, I go to therapy, but I'm very much a people pleaser. And so I don't like confrontation. And so like, if there's somebody I don't know, like, I'll just get walked all over because I'm just like, I just need everybody happy. I need everybody chilling and having a good time here. Whereas, I'm willing to go to battle with the dudes that I've been friends with for, 10 years. And so, yeah, it's just, it's kind of a dance and we're having a good time doing it. So that's awesome.
That's awesome. And again, to go back to Jesse, Jesse, in my opinion, is one of those guys who also doesn't do well without knowing how things work. Like, he can't sit on it. You can't say, hey, that's the way it is. Jesse's just going to give you a look and be like, give me 30 minutes. I need to go read some things on my phone. And then I'm going to come back and go, I have 5 new questions, So I'm like, that's a great guy to have in your band. He can jump on grenades. He's going to question things and make sure everyone's doing things the right way. Most of my conversations with him are about like, hey, what are you seeing out there? This is what I'm seeing. Am I crazy? And so we can just have that talk like, no, I've heard more and more bands doing that. He's like, yeah, good. Okay, that's what I'm going to go do. That's what we're doing.
1,000,000,000%. Yeah, we've got a really great combination of personalities of like, I think I'm on the opposite end. Like I'm the far emotional, like lovey-dovey kind of guy. And then he's on the exact other spectrum of like very analytical, very matter of fact, black and white type of stuff. And so, yeah, when he first joined the band a couple years ago, it was like we had an acclimation period because I'm like, man, you're hurting my feelings right now. But he wasn't even trying. He was just trying to make things better. And over these past couple of years, it's been incredible to have him. And I think we've all kind of found this sweet spot of like, we all know how we all function, and we're able to like really harness everyone's personalities and skill sets. And yeah, it's really fun. I think it's working. I don't know. We'll see how it goes a year from now, but it's feeling good.
Nice.
How
Kent,
do
do you have
y'all-
a share?
oh.
Sorry. Go ahead, Lauren.
Sorry, I was just
No,
curious.
good.
And maybe I zoned out for a second and you answered this, but that wouldn't be crazy. I have a little ADHD, so I'm kind of like squirrel.
Yeah, you do.
How do y'all write all together, or how does songwriting work for you guys?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. No, I pretty much write all the songs myself, and then like I'll record a demo, and then I'll kind of present it to them, and then they kind of put their skill set, and we'll kind of nudge stuff around musically. But yeah, lyrically, and the skeletons of the song I kind of do myself, and then take it to the fellas. And yeah, so I'm kind of a guy who like, I'll just get scattered around over a guitar and like speak nonsense, and then find a couple of words, a couple of syllables, and then that's like the little nugget that I can build the snowball around and push it down the hill, and hopefully, the song will grow. And yeah, usually I'll complete the song before I send it to the guys, just because yeah, I have sent incomplete ideas before, and it kind of it's not helpful because we start shooting off everybody has their own kind of side projects and the way that they write, and so it's kind of most efficient to like present this like fully written song that we can like mold around, and it's like this soft lump of clay that we can hopefully shape and mold how we want it, and then put it in the kiln and harden it. So that's usually how we do it. Yeah.
I love that. I think sometimes I can get stuck with, I think that's how I prefer to write, is to have something pretty much set, but I just need someone to kind of push it in some places and like fill out, maybe say, oh, I don't know if that course is working there or whatever, but then like sends me back to work on it instead of working it right there. I've been in a few co-writing things, and I don't like to co-write. I think I need to just accept that and not berate myself, or you should be more humble and work with people and co-writing. But I love the idea of kind of coming with something that is at least mostly set, and then, like you said, putting it in the kiln after that. I think that's a great picture, and just encouraging to me as a songwriter, because I can get like frustrated with myself that, oh, you should do better at co-writing. And I'm like, I don't dig it, because I do have an idea for what it should look like, and I'm trying to discover it on my own. And then you get other voices and it just starts going a different direction. You're like, no. And personality type has something to do with it too, because maybe you don't feel confident enough to push back and be like, actually, no, I don't really like that, in that setting. So that was really helpful to hear from you and hear your process. Yeah.
1,000,000,000%. Yeah, I'm the same way. Like, people over, especially the past couple of years, as we've gotten a little more popular, of like, oh, let's co-write, or, I get emails of people, hey, will you co-write with this artist? And I'm not against it. I've just never really sat in a room and done it. Have buddies who have moved to Nashville, and that's kind of their whole job now. And I kind of look at how they do it, and I applaud them, and I wish I was kind of built that way, but I just don't do it that way. And then also, I'm just not that smart. So everybody in my band is like, everyone is, in theory, the music theory and everything, they all are tapped in and like really smart. And I completely, I learned how to play off of tabs off of the internet back in, 2001. So I'm just like, so where do I put my pinky? And they're like talking about diminished sevenths, and I'm just like, which fret do I put my bar? So for me, it's like, it's humbling really quick musically, but then I also understand that like the way that I do it works. And so like, yeah, like you said, like it's easy for me to get down on myself and I'm like, well, I gotta go buy a book or something because this is just embarrassing. But then I'm like, no, it works. Like I write how I write, and most of it's off ear and feeling, and you just got to lean into it. But yeah, I think the co-writing thing is something, I'm almost 40 now. I've done 2 songs that have actually come out with people and they did really well. And so maybe somewhere down the road, that's something I could pursue, and instead of having to, bust it on the road. But for now, yeah, I think you're spot on of like, this is what I enjoy doing. This is, I think, how I do it, and not feeling bad about that for sure.
Yeah. It's good.
I see the same thing I like to collaborate, but writing with people at the same time is almost impossible for me too. I can't do it. And I don't like to think creatively on the spot like that. And so even in our studio stuff with South of Royal, we used to joke about like, hey, man, the bridge needs a part. I can't write that part in that room with those guys. And I'd be like, be right back. And I'd like go to the lobby, or I'd have to disappear and just be like, work on a few ideas and come back and go, hey, I have 3 different ideas here. But it was Mary Slaughter Kent, a whole film that is such a deep cut. No one in the world knows Mary Slaughter. That is a deep cut Baylor
I feel
film
like I know her
school
because y'all
reference.
talked about her a few
Yeah,
times. So
We've talked
by
about black
proxy.
glasses.
Black glasses, that's right. So she taught me, in wanting to collaborate, or a school assignment where we had a team of 4 and people you didn't know and you had to collaborate for your grade, it does help to have a full idea. And that was a hard lesson to learn, because I thought, well, if it's a full idea, they won't feel like they can interject, or it'll be all me. And so I was like, well, then I'll just write, hey, I think it'd be cool to write about this character. And those never went anywhere. And so even if it was a great idea, you have to flesh it out. And I've learned the same thing with songwriting. You just got to just finish it. Just give everybody something to beat up and mess with and improve upon. But coming with a chorus, be like, hey, I've got a chorus. Man, I'm so always shocked that you could spend 3 hours, it goes nowhere. You can go back home and just flesh that thing out yourself, finish it, and next time you show up, you'll finish that song in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So that is great advice. I'm like, even if you're not happy with it, finish it and give it as much scaffolding as possible. And then people can kind of fix it and improve upon it. But hey, I've got an idea for a song, never goes anywhere for me in my experience.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and like, this is very much my view on songs and like how music grips me. But usually it's like I said, how I write the syncopation and the melody lines more than the lyrics. I mean, there's songs that absolutely just gut me lyrically, of course. But for me, the majority of the stuff, if the songs that I go back and listen to, it's like a catchy rhythm or a catchy like melody line and something hooky. And so like I love finding a hook that just like completely just wrecks people. And my wife is the opposite. Like she wants to know what this word, why did you say this word instead of this word, And it's like, well, I don't know, like I didn't have enough breath to put another syllable, or something like that. And so it's really funny to me, whereas watching the guys in my band write their own songs, sometimes they do it different. It's more about the lyrics and more about the vibe and the synth sounds and things like that, where for me it's like the most important part is kind of the hooks and the melodies and things like that. And so yeah, I think it's just it just goes to show like how incredible like our brains are, and like how we've all been put together, and our experiences in this world. And yeah, it's really cool. I love it. Yeah, it's awesome.
Kent, are you thinking wavelength?
No,
At
but
all? No?
I wasn't thinking that, but I can see why you're thinking that.
Okay.
Now that you say that, yeah, thinking wavelength is part of a larger process in the Patterson system of tools. So, which is just the turning point language we use at the beginning of our shows comes from that same space. It's really a high level, just strategic planning for companies and organizations, and then really life planning for individuals, understanding how you're made, who you are, where should you be investing your talent and time. And so thinking wavelength is kind of just a personality assessment to see how we think about the world. And so some of us are more detail process oriented, and then some of us are more conceptual, very abstract thinkers. And then you have people in the middle that keep the peace. So at a high level, there's obviously more depth to that, but
I love it.
Yeah,
Is that anti-Enneagram, or is that kind of the same Enneagram type stuff, which I don't understand any of that? Yeah.
Not anti. It's just another one of imperfect tools. That's what I call Myers-Briggs, Enneagram, Strengths Finder, Thinking Wavelength, Lion, Beaver, Otter, Bear, whatever that one is. They're all just imperfect tools. But they help us. I do think they give us some common language about how God's made us. So I do appreciate them.
I like it because it helps you understand where you are on the thinking wavelength, and where I think for your spouse or anyone that you work closely with, where they are, so you understand where you're coming from, and kind of can see where you might have some issues, but then learn to appreciate each other, which it seems like y'all have already done. So I think that's really cool. So that's what I kept thinking was you're probably on the 8 end of the thinking wavelength, or big concepts. I don't know, it just feels right, where maybe the rest of your band's a little bit in the middle or to the right and more detail oriented, but y'all figured out how to make it work together. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got
a question. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Coop. You're good. Yeah.
All right. This is my question for a people pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
So you release a single, you release 2 singles. How do you navigate how audience reaction and success, for lack of a better term, of like your stream counts and things that we all are watching, dictate when you go back into the studio another week from now to do the next song? How much do you look at it, care about it, or you just stay focused? Because you don't have a lot of control of how people are going to react to your songs, but you do see it. And as a people pleaser, that you can really turn into that skid wrong and be like, oh, well, they like this one, I got to keep giving them this, instead of being true to like the songs that you're wanting to write and coming up with. So how do you navigate that?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I mean, I think anybody who's creative and presenting something to the world through the lens of a believer, it's like it's an idol that we're all going to fight, is like, because everything is so numerical and measured, and right there where you can, I can open my phone and see how many times the single's been streamed. And so for me, I'm trying to keep a healthy balance of these songs are the first time that I've cut the band in on percentage points. And so there's part of me who really wants these songs to go good, because this is how these guys are getting paid. Whereas in the past, I just wrote them a check for the day, and, I tried to pay them the best I could, but, they couldn't retire off of it or anything. But I really want these songs to do great for them. But then there's also, on the other side, I think we all kind of build up this idol of like, well, how many likes is this getting? How many streams are we doing on the first week? What's our monthly listener count type of thing? Because that's what the market really looks at and kind of measures, in quotations, an artist. And so for me, I try not to look at it. I try not to think about it. We're in kind of a tricky financial situation where we're coming out of a, management deal and a booking agency fiasco that we're navigating. And so for the next couple of months, I'm being very mindful of what's really important and why we're doing that. And so it's been a good reminder and like a good reset for me of like, I've got an S Corp account that I operate the band stuff out of, and that number's pretty scary, sometimes. And so, but what really helps me is to sit down and write a song, or like talk to the guys and be like, let's go do the next one and see what happens. And so the short answer is, I don't want to look at the numbers really at all. Like, I just want to do it because I have zero control, and I'm I've learned the past year how fickle the algorithms can be, whether it's Spotify algorithms, Instagram algorithms, you know, all these robots are just completely in control of what happens, and they're either going to show you to 1 billion people or they're going to show you to 10, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it other than just try to be smart with your marketing money and do your best. And so, you know, I'm really trying to focus as a business owner and as an artist to just, what are the things that I have direct control over? What can I schedule? What can I do and have action to give us the best shot with the Spotify algorithms or the Instagram stuff? And like, just trying to understand that no matter what the result is, I did my best, and like I'm putting out the strongest stuff that I can, and hopefully people enjoy it. And if they don't, then we'll figure it out and go do something else. So that's really kind of what I've been focusing on. And yeah, I don't know. That's the main part. Is it's really easy to look and see how many likes you're getting, how many streams you're getting. But I'm trying to not do that, I guess. Yeah.
I think for the make it, share it part, a lot of times with musicians, people think making it and sharing it is writing it and then recording it and releasing it. Where I think y'all are doing the right thing. And this is what I always try to tell churches. Like, they're skipping the biggest feedback and the biggest step in making it and sharing it. Making it is still just writing the song, and you getting to go share it on the road to your crowd and on the tour and getting that feedback. Hey, why aren't you guys, I looked at your Spotify and that song's not on there, man. What are y'all doing? Like, people are loving this song. I'm going to go record it and put it out. And then there's a lot less of the unknown of, I don't know people, how they're going to respond to this. You already know people like it. Our people like this song. I don't know how big that audience is, but we're going to put it out there because they like it. And churches, sometimes they hold on to songs until they can record them and then share them with their people. And I'm like, you've already put it in the kiln and we don't know if they're going to like it or not. And now they're sitting in the gift shop and you're not selling any of it. So I love that part of the process. I feel like people forget. And that's where I say share it. I'm like, share it with friends, record a voice memo on your phone, text it to your 5 closest people that can give you honest and good feedback, instead of just like hitting the thumbs up on the MP3. And you're like, really? That's all I get? You're giving me the thumbs up back? Like, tell me something. Before you get into that next process of like selling it is probably the third piece versus the make it, share it. You can share it way before you sell it. And I think having that in there is, to me, it makes you more immune to I got to see what my numbers are, or what are the numbers? This is going to be crazy. How's this going to go? Because you already kind of know.
1,000,000,000%. Yeah. I think, you know, I have friends who I feel overshare, you know, like they'll get a phone voice memo and then they're like blasting it the next day. I'm like, ooh, we maybe should have workshopped that a little bit. But I have other friends who are like, you know, you're right. They go record it and like they already have the artwork and everything, and no one's ever heard the song. You know, they've never sent it out anywhere. And you know, for me, I try to find a happy balance of like understanding that you're dealing the other side of this source of the song is a human being. It's not just a digital number, you know, because that's the end goal of how, you know, my job is, right? I get paid off someone listening to a song or buying a ticket, and so that's a human person. And so it's really easy to get caught up in the numbers and the money and the stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's human beings interacting with each other, and trying to understand that and create something that, like, this isn't being consumed by algorithms, it's being facilitated by algorithms, but the end destination is a human being's ears. And I think that's the exciting part of it is, you know, until the robots are paying us, like that's the beauty of what we do, is we're creating for other human beings, and trying to just give a perspective, like, this is my view on the world, what's your view on the world, and like try and be as available as possible to let them reciprocate back, and kind of hear this is what I'm dealing with. This is what this song makes me feel. And I think that's the most exciting part of like getting to do this for a living, is seeing that back and forth. It's not just all one way outward. It's like you get some back too. So
Yep. All right, so I'm going to jump in. This is why I wasn't thinking about thinking wavelength. I was thinking about this question, which is perfect, which is, when you're creating, do you have a person that you're writing to, like whether it's your wife or a good friend, or whatever it may be, dad, mom, parents, grandparents, just pick the person? Or do you think of like an audience, and you're writing and you're like, hey, I'm going to be singing this to hundreds of people or thousands of people, whatever the case is? Do you tend to lean one way or the other when you're writing?
Yeah, I mean, 99.9% of the time it's my wife, or sometimes my kids. Like I write a song about my kids. I try to give kind of worldview stuff every now and then. But the majority of the stuff that pops out is about kind of the people in this household, my wife and kids. And so that's really the main part. I don't really know a lot about politics, or I'm my brain can't really handle a lot of what goes on outside of this house, and so I try to love the people in my circles the best I can, and create for the people who are close to me. And yeah, the songs that people seem to like the most from the numbers are the ones that are the most intimate, that were written and from the most intimate point of view. So I don't think I'll be writing party anthems anytime soon. I enjoy a good party anthem, but for the most part it's like excuse me, like the close people around me.
Yeah, so this will be a shout out to Dan Blank, who's on Substack, but I've found his work really fascinating. He talks actually a lot about sharing. His whole Substack is about sharing your art. But his most successful post, he was sharing this the other day, was based around this topic, and it connects well with Spotify and the algorithms too. But he used, I think, one of the best episodes ever of the show, The Office. And it's the episode where Pam has been doing art, making her art, and she gets to the point where sharing her art with an art show, and the whole office team shows up, and one by one they come through and either make fun of the art or just ignore it more than anything else. There's just apathy to the art, and it's not until the very end of the night she's dejected, and it's just, she feels terrible, and it's Michael Scott who comes up and is just looking at it, and then looks at one piece of art that she's created and says, man, this reminds me of our team. Like, look, I see like our team here, and it reminds me of The Office and the best parts of a jury job, but the best parts of getting to know each other. And he looks at her and he's like, great work. And they just like hug. And you get this like part where it's like just a silly show, but with this moment of like truth and depth and beauty. And so Dan's point in it is like, when you share the work, it's that one person, right? Who might be that one person who sees it the way Michael saw Pam's art that night at the show when no one else did. And that's a hard thing when you get into it making a living. That's the part where I think it gets so hard, but there's really nothing else you can do. You don't ultimately have control over the response. You make great work and you share it. And like you said, you're smart with your marketing dollars to do whatever you can in terms of best practices for making those work, but you can't control it. So that's why I was chewing on as I was listening to you talk.
No, my favorite line in that episode, that's one of my favorites, is when he sees it and he sees it's the painting of The Office. The first thing he says, he goes, "Ooh, how much?" Like, he's the only person that's even offered to buy a piece. And she was like, "What?" And he goes, "Oh, we have to have that for The Office." Like, it was a no-brainer. I don't even know if I can afford it, but I have to have it. How much? And it was just like the same thing of just someone like, I don't know, for Grady, it's like when someone tells you they can't stop listening to your song. And it's like one person, but you're just like, that's all. I mean, that's all you need. On the flip side, what you're up against versus that's why you do it. Yet I read an article yesterday. The CEO of Spotify, who is a billionaire, just raised their prices again. And when asked why, his response was, "Do you guys know how cheap it is to make music now?" That was his response. So he's basically like, the entryway to making your own music is the cheapest it's ever been, which the equivalent to that is saying you can also start a business for $100 in the state of Texas. So, you know, it costs $100 to start a business. You're like, mm. So that's what we're up against. That business model, and that's how people are. New generations don't know anything else. They've never held music in their hand. So I also wonder, Kent, my question is like, do you think that next generation, they don't consume or like music and art in the ways a lot of us grew up? And I'm wondering if we're going to get less and less of that feedback of like, I love this song, it means something to me. Instead, it's way more disposable and they only listen to 30 seconds of it. That was my weird takeaway as the future, as I'm teaching these songwriting classes to 11-year-olds. I don't know what their audience is going to be. It's weird. There's my philosophical question to shut down the podcast right there. Boom.
I'm sad and I want to get rid of Spotify now.
Dude.
Oh my gosh.
You know, you follow a lot of musicians or you have way too similar of friends. When that happened, I think like 2 days ago, and it was on my feed, like maybe 80 out of the 100 people I interact with.
Wow.
Because you can't read that article and see, he fleshes it out more,
gosh.
and it just gets worse and worse. He just gets, it's more just like, he doesn't even factor in the fact that, and Grady will understand this, like, yeah, you need a MacBook. MacBooks are $2,000. Like, yeah. But he didn't even, he made it sound like you can write, record, mix, master, and release for like $20. Yeah. That is the way his explanation was going. And it just sounds like, I used to remember when I was little, my mom and sister loved watching Oprah. And I thought one of the funniest episodes ever was the first time we really saw Gail. And Gail, as her friend, was quizzing Oprah on what things cost in a supermarket, trying to prove to Oprah how out of touch she is in the world. So like, how much does milk cost? She was like, $25. And they were like, no, just like one thing of milk, like that you need every week if you have a family. She was like, $30? I had no clue. And I mean, each thing was 10 to 100 times off. And that's how I felt about this Spotify guy. I was like, where is this guy living? What's his, I mean, in Sweden and with $1 billion, but like, and he's never made music. I don't know. Yeah. It was just a very disheartening. I hope it's leading to a change. I hope it's getting so bad that means a change is coming or it's going to backfire. But I think we've also all been saying that about social media for about 15 years, where we hope the next generation just bails on it. And I'm just not seeing it.
Not so far.
But praying for it.
Man, yeah, I'll do you one better. We went and played, excuse me, we went and played Los Angeles, I guess like 6 months ago. We were doing a tour out there, and there was an early show in this venue, and then we were the late show. And so we were there, so I went into the early show, and first of all beautiful creations of God, beautiful people. I love them all, okay? But I started seeing these people in there, and this is like the worst shows I've ever, like, no, you can tell they haven't been playing music that long. They probably paid $25 to record their song. I'm like, whoa. And there's this one guy, and I'm like, dude, look at the jawline on that guy. What a beautiful human being that guy is. And I look him up, 3 million monthly listeners, just tens of millions of streams on his songs, and it was horrible. So I think the answer is people are spending $25 to make a song, and they did a TikTok dance, and they're now famous, and it's and so for me, sitting here as a 40-year-old man, I think I've come to the point where I'm just gonna tune it out, and you know, I'm gonna, because it's the same with politics. Like, I'm gonna vote how I'm gonna vote, but at the end of the day, I don't have any control over what's happening. I'm just gonna do my best and focus on like what I'm doing. And I got really fired up whenever all the legislation stuff was going in about, oh, you know, they're gonna up the stream, you know, per stream pay and stuff like that. And I got really optimistic, and then it just kind of like, I don't even know where we're at with it, because I was like getting really fired up, and then it's just like, I don't know. So I'm just gonna go back to doing what I was doing. And yeah, I think it's easy for I could get on a soapbox very easily about the state of the music business, and I think there's a lot of broken things about it. But I also yeah, I don't know what to do about it. I just know that we got to keep doing what we're doing and keep creating, because I think if you do get tied up in it, if you don't have a good base and good roots, it's enough to make you quit, of like, well, why would I even pursue this? Why would I even want to keep going?
Yeah.
Because this guy is just getting rich off of what I'm doing, and I'm barely getting by. And so I think if going after success and going after like big numbers and big money is someone's end goal, and whoever's listening to this, I would say, plead with you, please don't let that be the goal, because it's an uphill battle for sure. And I hope that happens for you, but for the most part, if that's why you're doing it, you're setting yourself up for failure really quickly in this day and age. So
Man, I remember in 2016 when we were going for the first South of Royal album and talking to the guys at Reach Records, and you know, Lecrae and Andy Mineo and Biz and these guys, and it was a very interesting thing that they were like, can we just set something in your mind as you're about to go start to do your pre-production? And that is, if you're not willing to write and release and play music for 5 years, you shouldn't do it. And like, because it's going to take that to build your audience, to be found. Like they were talking about when Lecrae, what album he hit around year 4. And so that elevated some of the others. But like the roots that were being formed that took forever before they became overnight successes were in that 5-year average for every one of those artists, Tadashi, Andy Mineo, and all these guys. And so that put it into perspective for me. I was already in and we were going to do it. So it helped take the pressure off to go, okay, well then I got to do 5 years before I even can expect to see anything happening, versus put in all your chips in the first thing. And if it doesn't blow up, then quit. Because to your point, the loophole, the double-edged sword, I guess, is a better analogy of the government getting involved and saying streams you need to pay more per stream. And anytime your music gets used anywhere, we need to have a better way to where the songwriters are getting paid. So if it's being played in a bar or on your Peloton bike, we have to figure out ways to pay these people. So you're like, whoa, it took the government to step in and get that changed and upped. Yet at the same time, the government's going to implement it and handle it. So you're like, wait, no. Wait. The guys that are doing the post office? Wait, hold on. Can we, let's rethink this. True. And so sure enough, it was supposed to kick in 2023. We've seen nothing. 2024. They're like, we're still working out things. And the initial people that they put for their board have all walked away. And they were musicians and people in the industry. So you're just going, oh, we got so close. But it's a weird thing.
I think it's going to take creative minds, you know, to figure out, okay, we don't need that anymore. And I think you're kind of doing it, Grady, where you're just like, okay, I'm taking out some of the cost of like spreading around. I was thinking, my mind was going all kinds of different places, but when you're talking, Coop, there's a great song by Zane Williams called Overnight Success that is exactly that. It's like, it's all if you want to be an overnight success, okay, take about 10 years of it looking like this, borrowed gear, you know, your truck breaks down. It's, you got to listen to it. Even if you aren't a big country fan, it is a great song so then I was thinking, gosh, that is such a good song, well written. You have to pay attention to it. And people don't have those attention spans anymore, but some of us do. Some of us want well-written songs that are kind of cheeky or that are really deep in some ways or push back. And so we're here. I also thought of there's a restaurant close to us called Marty B's, and he does this rooftop series, and he invites different artists, and it's sponsored. So the artists are paid, I think, really well. But we've had like Wade Bowen, trying to think who is Josh Abbott, Sean McConnell, these guys that they are doing it. They're out there doing it and writing really good stuff. And it was interesting. Each one of those really reacted. Just surprising. They were surprised at how well everybody sat and listened to them because it's in a bar, but we did pay tickets and they weren't cheap. But there is something like mutual happening there that would be really sad to lose in this moment of music history. And so, there's got to be some creative minds. I mean, I don't know if it's patrons or if it's, I don't know, where there are people out there that want to hear good music that it took time to make, that isn't getting, cut up and sold off and diminished. So we're out there. We want to hear it. We want to hear y'all make it. So yeah.
1,000,000,000%.
Marty B's is where I met Mr. Grady Spencer.
Honestly.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I did think, I was like, hey, Grady should come to Marty B's.
Yeah, that's a cool spot.
Shout out Marty B's.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that is. Yeah, I don't want to seem all doom and gloom either. Of like probably one of my favorite songs I've heard in years was last year. Is a guy named Parker Ryan, who's this young guy who's very like just getting started. I mean, early 20s, and it's a song called "First on My List," and it's a demo version that he recorded on his phone in his front porch. And it's just like, I bet I've listened to that song 100 times, and it makes me cry every time because it's so good. And it's just like, literally, he did that for literally nothing, and it was so incredible that I'm just like, yes, like this is what it's about. It's human beings communicating with each other. And, I just encourage people, like, don't get caught up in the numbers. Like, it is fun. Like, for me, I treat it as a game some days of like, this is fun. Let's see if we can manipulate the system and make some money and see what happens. But for the most part, it's about creating something that you've been blessed with and sharing it with the world. And I think it's super rad, super awesome.
Well
Very
said.
cool.
That's a good drop the mic ender.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thanks, Grady.
Yeah.
Man, thank y'all. Yeah, this has been a blast. Thank y'all for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Excited to also just thinking about an individual. Your music, I'm just getting introduced to it, but I'm excited to take it to the beach here in a few weeks and have a cold beverage and sit back and listen to some of that. So it has that feel for me. So
Dude,
yeah,
thanks, man. Yeah, that's what we're shooting for, and I hope people enjoy it, and yeah, we're having a good time making it for sure.
Love it. What's the best way? I always like to single way for people to connect with Grady Spencer and the work and the music you guys are making and sharing.
Yeah, we're at GS and the work on all the platforms and social stuff, and then got a website, GradySpencer.com. Like I said, we've got a change of booking, so me and my wife are actually handling all the booking now, which has been kind of fun in itself. To create something with her, we're kind of doing it DIY, and GradySpencer.com and GS and the work on the socials, and we've got a new single streaming everywhere now that came out last week, and hopefully there'll be a lot more in the next couple of months, and it's fun stuff.
Cool.
Love it. Well, I'll put the links to that in the show notes, and
awesome.
We're just thankful for the time, and for you guys that are enjoying the show, thanks for reviewing it, and that helps a lot just to get the word out. So just rate and review, and thanks for listening to another episode of Make It, Share It, and we'll see you next time.
You see here, kid? You gotta just go for it. Don't think about what comes after or what came before. You just gotta bend your knees, take a deep breath, and jump. And you might think,